All right, over the past 5 years, we have seen a deliberate attempt by the Obama administration to soften the language used in the war on terror. That's why the White House doesn't even use the phrase war on terror anymore, and it's made it a point to rid other words like jihadists and radical Islam from official government use. The progressive, politically correct approach to this issue is shying away from the actual problem our country and the world faces when it comes to battling radical Islamic jihad. So if we're too afraid to address the issue by calling it what it really is, then how are we ever going to solve it? My next guest is trying to face the problem head on by running ads in the subway systems in major cities that highlight what radical Islam really stands for. Naturally, progressives and other groups like the Council on American Islamic Relations, better known as CARE, are up in arms and have been trying to shut down her freedom of speech every step of the way. Joining me is Pamela Geller of American Freedom Defense Initiative. I've seen some of the videos of people defacing these ads, and you actually had to sue New York City.
I did. I had seen not one, not two, but three vicious anti-Israel ads running on buses, running in the subway system, and when I saw the third one calling for an end to U.S. aid to Israel, as if it was an impediment to peace, when in fact it's an impediment to the annihilation of Israel, I submitted our ads, quoting Ayn Rand, actually. It was an Ayn Rand quote: in any war between the civilized man and the savage, support the civilized man, support Israel, defeat jihad. And apparently savage was insulting to savages, because any war on innocent civilians is savagery. The blowing up of the bus in Bulgaria of Jewish women and children on holiday, the Fogel family in the middle of the night decapitating a 3-month-old baby, the tens of thousands of rockets going into southern Israel from Gaza, the schools. And so my ads, even though the anti-Israel ads were running across the country, in the city and major cities, Chicago, San Francisco, Portland, my ad couldn't run. So yeah, I had to sue David Yerushalmi, Robert Muse, my legal team, American Freedom Law Center. We sued the city of New York. And let me say this, we didn't just win on narrow victory, we won on all points. As a matter of fact, the New York City MTA had to throw out their rules and regulations and standards because they were deemed unconstitutional. We ran them 10 ads in the subways, and within an hour, they were all destroyed and taken down by Islamic supremacists. And why is this important? Because I think it's a physical manifestation of the war on free speech. Here you see these anti-Israel ads were running across the country. Nobody said anything. Hundreds, not one was damaged. Not one was defaced. Not one was destroyed. I have 10 little Indians up in the New York City subway system. They're all destroyed.
Let me throw something at you about the progressive movement and prior to 9/11. It seemed like when you think of the war on Christmas, the answer to the war on Christmas was maybe to support Hanukkah, that Jews might have been a cause célèbre of progressives. Then all of a sudden 9/11 happened, and they found a new group that turned the tables, make the Muslims the victim here, and make it seem as if they're being persecuted all across the country. And of course, they had willing groups that were like, they were scratching out their protest signs, you know, and turning them around, and all of a sudden they had new protest signs. And you have a lot of left-wing Jews here in New York City that are sort of say to themselves, wait a second, just a few years ago, you were all worried about anti-Semitism. Now all of a sudden, you're almost pro-anti-Semitism because you found a new victim group.
Yeah, well, not almost. They are. The left is
same people, though.
Yeah, has an absolutely anti-Semitic, pillar to the left. Look, the bottom line is it's not a religious issue. The bottom line is the left, the religion of the left is secular humanism. And many of these liberal Jews worship at the church of human secularism. And the left, through history, whether it was Stalinism or the National Socialist Workers' Party, Nazism, communism, always aligns itself with the totalitarian ideology of the day. And that's why you see this Sharia.
And whoever the victim is, whoever the proletariat is.
And that's why they support the Sharia, because there's no better effective means, no system of governance that's more controlling of people than the Sharia. Now, in response to my ads, the Hamas-linked Council of American Islamic Relations ran an ad rebranding Jihad. My Jihad is going to the gym every day. My Jihad, yeah, I kid you not, okay? But you see, this is a campaign to disarm the American...
I'm sorry, I just never heard somebody maxing out on the bench press and shouting Jihad.
Jihad. But the point is that I'm sure people do have their personal struggles. This is not a religious issue. I don't care if you're Wiccan or pagan or Jewish, Zoroastrian, Christian, Hindu. I don't care if you worship a stone. Just don't stone me with it, okay? There have been 20,500 Islamic attacks since 9/11. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dead bodies. We have to be able to talk about it. Christians in Indonesia, Christians in Nigeria, Ethiopia, Somalia, Lebanon. Look what's happening to the Coptic Christians in Egypt. And just 2 weeks ago...
And you know what they need? Fighter jets.
F-16s and $1 billion. 2 Coptic Christians were beheaded by a Muslim in New Jersey. Why is nobody talking about that? There was a vehicular jihad in California, but everyone's focused on Newtown. My point is, I have no problem with peaceful Muslims, but I do not have to congratulate every Muslim that doesn't want to kill me. That's my bar. I expect that.
With the Obama administration, I'm not going to get into the conspiracy. He's a secret Muslim. I'm not going to do that.
I don't believe
but I am going to accuse him of being an academic progressive. And academic progressives, college campuses became the sort of seed ground for this politically correct nonsense where you can't call something what it is. If your attackers are saying, I'm going to kill you in the name of Islam, and you're afraid to say, these people are killing in the name of Islam, well, how do you defend yourself against something when you can't even say what it is?
Well, you're not. You're not. It's surrender. And I take enormous issue. This is one of the ads. You know, we're doing an ad in response to CARES ads that are using the words of jihadists that cite Quran chapter and verse for their jihad. We have high-profile Muslims like the Fort Hood jihadi. And here you have a jihad.
No, that was a workplace.
This is Obama. This is workplace violence.
Workplace violence.
The man was wearing the garb of the Shaheed. He was giving out Qurans the morning of his jihad. He had Soldier of Allah on his business card. He was screaming Allahu Akbar as he mowed down 15, because one woman, as you know, was 5 months pregnant, of our U.S. soldiers, who, by the way, are not allowed to be armed. That makes sense. On U.S. bases, okay? Well, the green on blue attacks. Lieutenant Buckley, I was speaking and the father spoke before me. His son was in the gym on the base in Afghanistan, and they came right up to him, shot him in the heart, shot him in the head, and 6 of his colleagues, and they haven't even arrested anybody yet, because we don't want to insult Muslim sensibilities. You can't make this up. So I wouldn't say that he's a secret Muslim. I don't know what's in his heart. I don't care. What I care, by their fruits ye shall know them. And we know that he's clearly Islamophilic, and that was not workplace violence. And if you cannot speak to the enemy, then you're defeated. You're defeated before you hit the battlefield.
At the same time, you have an attorney general whose law firm went running around to whatever court would hear him or hear them to try to give constitutional rights to the people at Gitmo. This president and his attorney general couldn't answer a straight question on whether or not they would use drones, not on Islamic jihadis, but American citizens on American soil.
Oh, yes. And more than that, the Department of Justice has become something of a de facto legal arm for many Muslim Brotherhood groups in America. Now, you may say, oh, that's overstating it, Pamela. No, we see the Department of Justice sued a Minnesota school who a teacher wanted to go on Hajj, a young woman. You know, Hajj, under Islam, you have to go to Mecca once in your lifetime. You can go anytime, once in your lifetime. She just became
kind of like golfing with Tiger Woods.
Yeah, well, that's not once in a lifetime. That's something that Obama does every week now, right? And the fact is that the school said, look, you're a brand new teacher. You're our only math lab teacher. We need you. You can't leave for a month.
Discrimination.
She left. She left on her own. The Department of Justice sued and had to, make reparation of some $77,000. Small towns can't afford to go up against the huge treasure of the Department of Justice. But it's not just this case. We see this over and over again, and it is a special right for special classes. That's not who we are, Andrew. We are individual rights. No special rights for special classes.
Academic political correctness. Pamela, thank you so much for joining us. More Wilcow after a break.